All right. Hey guys, I have just sent with me. Welcome to the Money Talks group. As you kind of already know, we're here to talk about her debt, how much she paid off, how long it took, all those different things. Appreciate you all joining. I could continue to appreciate the effort and you all sharing the information. The group is getting to about 1,200 people now. And again, if you need to replay or want to send it to a friend, check out on the YouTube page. There will be a link for that later on. But yeah, Jacent, you're here. I'm there's so much about her that I'm pretty sure you guys will get, but I will tell you, I've kind of lurked all through her Instagram. I've lurked all through all her podcasts, and I mean, this young lady is phenomenal. The work she's done, not just because of the debt she paid off, but we want to learn from all those aspects. But Jacent, how much debt did you pay off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long it took, and just kind of start from there.
Yeah, so I paid off about a month ago, a little bit over $90,000 in about 3 years. So that was a culmination of student loan debt and mostly student loans, but then it was a little bit of credit card debt in there too.
Mhm. And so, what kind of took you down this path? Now, I would tell you, for most people, student loans is a big, heavy. Everybody, it all makes sense. Pay off your car, pay off your credit cards. That all makes sense. But when it comes to the student loan piece, that one kind of always is like, I can't just grapple with doing that. So,
Yeah,
what did
sorry.
it for you?
Yeah, I think that there's a narrative around, student loan debt kind of being this thing that's gonna stick with you for the rest of your life. I've heard so many people say that they don't plan to ever pay off their student loans, and to each their own, like live your best life. But they feel that way because they feel like it's impossible, that there's no way to do it. And so I never wanted to go into debt in the first
Right.
place, which is funny.
Mhm.
And but I didn't have a plan. So the absence of a plan kind of made me fall prey to society's norms.
Right.
And so I got into some debt, and it took a couple of years before I could really see clearly like what my intention was prior to that
Mhm.
situation. And so really deep down, what I felt like was that I didn't want to owe anybody money. And so
Mhm.
um, so I was like, okay, what do I have to do in order to get this out of the way as quickly as
Mhm.
possible? And it was a lot of sacrifice. It was a lot of like sitting with myself, sitting things out, making some difficult decisions in my lifestyle so that I could hit that goal. And really focusing on my why, because otherwise, if you don't have a compelling enough why, then nothing's going to keep you going when stuff gets hard. So
Mhm.
it was a really serious personal growth experience for myself, because it was not just about money. It was me
Mhm.
stretching in my character and in my spirit and in so many different ways. So it's not easy, but
Mhm.
it is possible.
So you said you didn't have a plan. So where did you start with trying to really grapple with, hey, I have this mountain load of debt, but you know what? It is kind of doable. I think I could probably do it. So kind of walk me through those first early stages of what did you do first? Were you writing a budget? Like, because a lot of people, if you're not dealing with money, like myself, I deal with money all the time. So it makes sense. But for somebody this is their first time, the numbers don't necessarily make sense to them. So how did you start to see like, oh, okay, I see how this kind of works. How did you start to build yourself a plan? What steps what did that look like?
Yeah, so because I never really budgeted before that, I don't even know what I was doing with
Living.
honest. I was just spending money. If there was money in the account, I spent it. If there wasn't money in the account,
Mhm.
I would use my credit card. So I think it was seeking information or knowledge around what my options were, or like how to even get a hold of my personal finances in the beginning. And so thankfully, I think I had tried Mint, and that didn't work.
Okay.
Budgeting apps and stuff like that. I tried using the budgeting tool from my bank, and that
Okay.
I didn't stick with that either. And so
Okay.
it was a lot of trial and error. It wasn't just like a perfect match from
Mhm.
jump. And then I found the Every Dollar app, which just seemed much easier for me personally. And so I
Okay.
think that everyone has to find what's going to work best for them. So you
Okay.
can't just adopt whatever someone is trying to tell you. If it doesn't fit, then try something
Right.
else. So for me, it was the Every Dollar app. And because once I swiped my card or once I paid for something, I could just immediately put it into my phone. And to create the budget only took a few minutes at the beginning of every month. And so the budget really was the greatest tool in helping me to reach the goal. The numbers, I just look, I'm a therapist because I didn't want to do math. Okay. So so I was like, okay, what's the number? At that time, I think it was probably like 70K before I really added it up. I think I'm in about $70,000 worth of debt. And so I was like, okay, 70,000 divided by 3 years, because at that time I was 27 and my goal was to be out of debt by the time I was 30. I don't know where that came from. I was just like, let's see if we can do it. So I divided it by 3 years, divided that by 12 months. And that gave me, I think it was like $1,000 or $2,000 a month. If I paid $2,000 a month for 3 years, then I would be out of that debt, which it fluctuated because some months I could pay more, some months I paid less. There's a couple months that I didn't pay anything on my debt, but because I was able to pay much more on different months with my income varying, I still hit my goal. So that's how I kind of made it really basic because I'm not like a mathematician. I'm not a financial professional or anything like that. I had to make it really basic for myself, and breaking the numbers down made it so much more like possible in my mind, as opposed to just looking at that huge number. So that's where I started, and that's what kind of helped me to shape my personal plan.
It's really incredible what you got to pay off $90,000 in 33 years. That's a lot different than, hey, if I pay, just work on a goal of $2,000 every month. Well, there are a lot of things in my head that I can formulate. Oh, I could probably come up with $2,000 or $1,500. And I know when I counsel folks, that's one of the main things I try to tell you. I'm like, dude, $1,500, I don't care who it is, that'll pretty much change anybody's scenario if you're really geared on it. So it's one of those things of, so you broke it down to simply, hey, I need $2,000. So when you start looking at your budget, what were things that you started looking at, like, hey, because again, you're not in this arena, so you wouldn't know, hey, I'm overpaying or I'm not. How did you start to assess, like, oh, I could really cut back on this area, or I could use this? How did you start to analyze from that way?
Yeah. So the wild thing is that the year before I decided I was going to get out of debt, which was 2016, I think it was 2016 that I made like less than $20,000.
Oh, wow.
And that was with a master's degree. I was broke, you know what I mean? And so I was in private practice trying to make that work, and it just was a struggle. And so from January, when I made my decision to get out of debt, to I think it took like 6 to 8, 9 months before I actually started, when I got multiple jobs. That's when I was find more work, because I wasn't making enough money. So for some people have the money and they're just spending it. And some people don't have the money and they have to increase their income. So I had to increase my income and tighten my budget in order to hit my goal. So what I did before I got my third job, which was an additional full-time job, I was selling things. So I was still making the minimum payments on all of my debts, which was probably like $400 or $500 a month spread across my credit cards and my student loans. But I was looking around my apartment and I was like, what can go? Like, all right, let's get rid of this thing. Let's get rid of that thing. And I was also in the midst of transitioning to move in with my best friend at the time, which was going to lower my rent. So I still paid. I lived with her, but it lowered my monthly living cost to the point that I was able to, formulate my budget to fit and pay a lot more on my debt. So it was selling things. So I sold my dining room table, that was gone. I sold my dresser in my room. I sold my couch. So for at least a month, if not more time, I was without all that stuff. My apartment was pretty much empty. So I learned about minimalism and things like that. And it's a spiritual journey. That's why I say it's a journey of personal growth and development. Because if you have trouble letting go of things, that doesn't have anything to do with money. That has to do with your internal. And so it was really just starting with, what could I sell? Because my problem was that I needed to increase my income. For some people, it might be that they eat out too much, they're having too much fun or whatever. The money's just slipping through their fingers and have to tighten it up. For me, it was, okay, I don't make that much right now. What can I sell to help me, get started until I get that job that's going to help boost things.
Yeah, you didn't have a place to eat, and you didn't have a place to sit down, so you just standing in the apartment, like eat whatever is there. Wow, you probably would have got rid of the fridge if it was yours.
Right. If it was mine, I probably would.
So you said you was only like that for like a year, though, right? I mean, a month, without all that furniture.
Probably like a month or two, because it was the summer. I moved in September, I think.
Okay.
So I think I was probably a couple of months, because I started selling things in the summertime.
Okay.
So I think it was probably in the summer that I was without a couch. I was without a couch for at least a month or two, at least. And I was sitting on the floor. People would come over to my house and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah. You good? You want to?"
Right. Because I mean that warrants a question. Like, we just not gonna talk about it. Y'all go. So are we gonna play? Where are we gonna play at? You know what I mean? So no, that's phenomenal. And yeah, minimalism, contentment, gratitude, patience. Those are all invaluable tools that you, again, from your personal growth. Now you have a little bit of I would say, a cheat sheet in the way of getting out of debt, because again, you're a therapist, so you understand the emotions behind the beliefs and the structure of how our mind kind of works, and how we need to work through that process. What is one thing that, and I see you go live, and you probably talk to friends a lot now about it, but what is one thing that I know it's easy to say, but making that decision, you know what I mean? Because when you're making that decision of, hey, I'm going to get out of debt, you're also indirectly saying, hey, I made a mistake. Hey, you know what I mean? I might get made fun of. Hey, you know what I mean? I'm poor, whatever. There's so many different indirect statements that you have to kind of swallow with saying, hey, I'm going to pay this off. What are some things that you kind of work through during that time, especially being so limited from the emotional aspect? Because, I mean, for real, who wants to sell their car? Who wants to sell clothes that they bought? That's a hard personal ego decision. How do you kind of work through that? And how did you kind of work through that with your expertise?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, is that it's all about ego and pride. And so, if someone wants to let their pride get in the way of them going to the next level in their life, so be it. But I just made the decision that I wasn't going to let this one piece of myself hold me back or keep me from being able to do what I saw in my mind, right? The vision that I saw, which was to be debt free, so that I could, travel the world if I wanted to, so that I could be free to switch industries, because I'm no longer paying on a degree that I'm not using. And so it comes back to the why, because if you're just saying that you want to get out of debt because it'll just be fun, or just because, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have a compelling enough why, then you're going to give up. I wanted to a year ago, and my why is really compelling, because it's hard. It's really, really hard. I live in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
All my friends in the summertime are at school. They're party, like I'm in my late 20s, like just having, like, coming into and so being able to say no temporarily so that I can say yes the rest of my life was enough for me. So it was really about taking a larger view of things and of my life, and being able to say, okay, I'm the one that got myself into this position. Right. I cannot sit back and expect for someone else to get me out of this position, because there's no hope. It don't look like there's no hope in sight. So I'll be forever if I'm waiting for somebody else. So it's about taking responsibility and ownership of your life, and positioning yourself in a place that you're no longer on the sideline of your own life.
Right.
We love to watch somebody else thrive. But we won't invest in ourselves to do it for ourselves. We love to watch someone else's story and their journey of sacrifice and whatever, but we won't do that for ourselves. And so I was like, I can't sit back and just watch other people do what I know I'm capable of doing. So it's when you start taking yourself seriously, you don't have that much time. Yeah.
So good. I really like how you really kind of were real with the fact, like, hey, I had this plan. Sometimes the plan's not gonna go like you want. So every month's not gonna be the same. Whether you're trying to invest or whether you're trying to pay off debt, the fact is, there's different months of the year, right? So there are different problems with every month. But understanding that, okay, there's a long-term play. Anybody who's been a millionaire will, if you actually ask them, they will tell you, no, I didn't invest $500 or $1,000 every month for 20 years. There were some months and there was a stretch of time where I missed because kids or whatever. But to your point, we have to, if we don't be ambassadors for our life, nobody else will. And nobody, despite how we got in whatever situation it is, and I don't disagree, the student loan debacle thing, like a lot, we had no business signing those papers. They had no business putting those papers in front of us for us to sign. And when I think about how much money I use in student loans on the experience versus the actual education, and it really starts to make me think. I'm like, man, that was one expensive party. That was a few expensive outfits. But the point is okay, I gotta clean it up. It's because right, like now, a lot of people want to buy homes. You're not going to be in position to buy a home strongly if you have that over your head. And a lot of people, whether you want to believe it or not, you're going to have to address it. And by not addressing it, it's only going to make the problem worse, because those interest rates on student loans, no matter where you got them, on a $90,000, $100,000 worth of money, it's going to be piling up every year. So if you don't deal with it or have some sort of overall plan, like by the time I'm 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever the case may be, because everybody's situation is different, it's gonna haunt you. And from a wealth perspective, you're never fully gonna get there, because the problem at 20 years down the road is gonna be twice, 3 times as big as what it was now. So so good that you kind of point that out, that even though you're on a plan, and you were on a plan, there were months you went scorched earth on a lot, but there were times where it dropped. Mm-hmm. And really understanding the emotional impact. So throughout that time, I know you were really tight, but what did you do to kind of pep yourself up during the process? How did you kind of celebrate processes? What was your ways of celebrating throughout the process?
Yeah. So, every time I would make a payment, that was a celebration. I had a little monthly calendar that I checked off the days. I circled paydays because I knew that that was something to look forward to. My daily practices were really on point. I have fallen off, I will be honest. But my daily practices, while I was really going hard, was to wake up, to pray and to meditate, to write on a daily basis. And I wrote about, why I was doing what I was doing. And I took a job because I was in private practice. I also taught at university. And then I took a full-time job with the county working in the juvenile detention center. And so that I used to work Thursday through Sunday from 12 to 10. And so it was a very stressful position, to say the least. It was very stressful. So, a lot of the times I didn't want to even be going to work, but that on those mornings I would write in my journal, like, I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to use my skills to support and serve my community. And so that helped me to reframe, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to drag myself to work again, or whatever. I'm seeing everything that I'm doing as an opportunity for me to serve, for me to support my community, and that it's helping me to also fulfill a goal. And so reframing those things that were challenging in my mind on a daily basis and setting myself up for success in that way made my days go easier. So I would notice that the days that I happened to miss journaling or doing my routine would be a lot tougher than the days where I took the time to work out, eat right, drink my water, write in my journal, sit with myself in meditation and prayer. And it seems like a lot of work to do all those things, but it's a lot of work to struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which one you're going to do. I think having strong daily habits, any successful person is going to tell you, having a solid morning routine. And then if you can cap that with a nighttime routine too, and like, what are you grateful for in that day? How is it that you've been able to make progress, or did you help someone, or was someone kind to you? And that stuff really goes a long way, or at least it did for me when I was having a tough time. I was working like 7 days a week for a long time. So that's what really helped me to stay focused in knowing that I was headed in the right direction.
So you ended up with 3 jobs but you started with just one, and you was only making about 20 something in Vegas. So
I started with 2.
Okay, you started with 2. So you had the regular therapy job, and then what was the other one that you had when you started?
I was teaching, I think at that time
Oh,
I was
the school.
one class at the
Okay.
university. Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, did the opportunity just open up? How did you get connected with the detention center thing?
Again, so from the time that I made the decision to get out of debt,
Mhm.
to the time that I actually started working at Juvie, which was not until maybe October, September, or I think it was October of 2017,
Okay.
I was actively applying for jobs. So
Okay.
it was a process. It wasn't an
Yeah.
overnight thing. It took that whole time to apply for jobs, find the right fit. And I was also
Right.
journaling, praying, and meditating on the perfect job so that I didn't have to quit my other jobs. I was trying to
Yeah.
increase income. I was
Right.
not trying to take away. So I
Okay.
wanted to add on an additional, 50, 50 or whatever K, 40K or whatever.
Right.
So that I could hit my goal. And so I was applying for jobs most actively in the summertime. I
Mhm.
actually went on interviews and I was offered positions, but
Mhm.
I turned them down because they didn't feel like they were the right fit. So
Wow.
the schedule was a little bit off, or it wasn't exactly how much I wanted to get paid. I was like,
Right.
no, like there's something that was more. And so when I think about it now, I'm like, you're crazy. Like,
Right. You was indeed.
what were you gonna do if you didn't find another job?
Right.
Honestly, it's crazy when I think about it now. But I
Yeah.
was getting jobs and I was turning them down. I got a job at the state, turned that down, and then I had interviewed with the county because I heard that it paid more.
Okay.
So that was the position that happened to be Thursday through Sunday, which was perfect for me because I needed to continue to work in private practice and at the
Okay.
school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So yeah, it's wild. And that's why I say it's spiritual too, because it wasn't just me.
Right.
I wholeheartedly believe that there was something else going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's an aggregate process about doing it, but you did yours a little bit more deliberate because all your jobs seem to kind of have a place from your field perspective. So you were able to kind of draw experience where I know most people, hey, let me go Uber or let me go deliver some pizzas or whatever the case may be. And those are very, very temporary jobs. Like you're not, so you're not looking at that from a long-term perspective, and also it's not really giving you any value to help you level up whatever you have from a degree perspective. It's just kind of extra 1,500. So that's really interesting that you took that approach.
Well, in all transparency, it worked out that way for me, but I was not discrediting the option because I started applying for Postmates. I was like, so it was going to be something. I was going to, if I could not get something that happened,
you had a deadline for it.
I had a deadline, so I was like, okay, I have to. I was like considering delivering pizzas, but I didn't want to do that. Like I live in Vegas, and I've done service before. So I used to work like at Lake Las Vegas or whatever. And so I was like, I can go into the hospitality industry and, work nights or whatever. So I will not lie in saying that I was entertaining all options. I was going to do whatever, but I just got lucky that I got a job that was already in my field. So I gave myself a deadline. I said, if I don't have a job by the end of the year, then I need to exhaust my second options.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about the plan. Even when you're searching for a job, like, hey, you know what I mean? Oh, I gotta have a job in St. Louis, or I gotta have a job in Charlotte. Well, if you've been doing these things and you've been applying for 6-7 months and you're not getting the income you want, or you're not getting the options you want, and you're now moving your bar down, well, you're only looking at that city. If you're not open to new opportunities and you're closing it off, then you're kind of closing off the possibility of you getting something else that could work for you. And they may work in your city, but they're not advertising in your city. So it's very interesting. So you're done with the debt. You're free. You can take a big breath now. What do you do now as far as your career? Are you still working those jobs, or what? I know you have your private practice. I know you have some other ventures. What are you doing now? How have things kind of shifted? Because that was recently.
It was a lot. So I was at Juvie for probably until January 2019. So I was only there for about a year and a few months. And that's where my income kind of dipped because I had left juvie. And so I had to replace it with something else. And I was working at a charter school as their mental health professional, teaching 2 classes at UNLV and then private practice. So it's still about kind of like that. It's summer right now. So I'm just in private practice and teaching at UNLV. But back in the fall, I'll probably go back to the school because I want to save up my 3 to 6 month emergency fund. I want to save up money for, for some property and things like that. So the work doesn't necessarily end. It just means that it's shifting to a place for me. And so now, I became an expert in my mind in how to get out of debt. And now I have to learn a whole new thing, which is like how to invest and how to enjoy money. Cause I'm like, I really don't want to spend any money, but I'm like, you have to enjoy, the fruit of your labor when you've earned it. And so now I'm learning all new lessons as far as where I'm at in my financial journey. But I have created more boundaries in my work around, I'm not working 7 days a week.
Okay.
Like I was before. I'm getting off of work, at a reasonable time nowadays. Like I get off work and the sun is up. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So I'm really allowing myself to just enjoy more of my time, see my family and friends more, because I didn't really get to see them that much while I was working as much as I was. And it's really now about just saving and learning how to invest so I make good decisions moving forward, because I don't want to just jump into it without any knowledge or education or guidance. And just being open to learning more is really what it's about.
Yeah, it's a definite struggle when you come from getting out of debt, especially when you've been intense for a long time. Even if you didn't even have debt, but you have the means, it's one of those things where, because of how I know for me how I grew up, money wasn't a available resource, as I understand it. So enjoying it, it's always going to be that question, especially when you get out of debt, because you're like, oh, that money could be the money always could be used to do something else. I think people don't understand that. Like, it's always a good financial decision. But the fact is, the balance that you have to have, you don't want to be 60, 65 and be like, oh, this is my first time buying the car I actually like. Then no, it's not practical. Okay, but this is the first time I actually did it. Well, at 65, I'm not going to really enjoy it like I would have probably at 30. Taking those long extended trips, I'm not going to enjoy that in my 60s as I would in my 30s and 40s. So that's a work practice that it's going to take some time to really find your rhythm on, okay, it's okay that I spend this money because I've done the other things. But the reality of the fact is, yes, it's not a financially smart decision. It doesn't you're not getting value, but I'm getting value because this is what I wanted. And I think that's a struggle that so many people have after they get, because they're like, oh, I paid off this debt. And then they look at life, they were like, well, I paid off this debt. Is this it? You know what I mean? Like that's it. I know one thing that you said though, in a few of your podcasts is it's hard. You know what I mean? Regardless, it's hard. Choose your heart. I know for me, I say I figured out, and I try to tell people, you're gonna have challenges as life goes on. The challenges doesn't go away, but I like the problems that I have now versus the problems that I had. So to your point, what hard do you want to deal with? You know what I mean? Because there's going to be challenges. So how can people, what are things you said you invest in? Are there any things besides like financially that you want to look forward to doing besides the rental property? Is there anything kind of more on the I guess emotional end for you that you just, hey, this is the first thing I'm going to buy for myself freely with no judgment?
Yeah, I've been entertaining the idea of getting like a Stairmaster. It sounds so odd, I'm sure, but I'm like, it would really be nice to have a Stairmaster in my garage. So I like little things here and there that I'm like, well, it would really be nice to get this thing for myself and just be able to pay for it. I have actually a whole list of stuff that I had made while I was on my debt-free journey. I have a note in my phone that had all of the sacrifices I made.
Oh, wow.
Throughout the time that I was paying off debt. It had, my debts and what I was paying off. It was detailed, and I had my dream budget in there with everything that I would like to do, and also some things that I wanted to invest in once I was debt free. So I have all that written down, and that's also just a part of remembering what my why is, because I had updated on a regular basis. And I just really love to travel. So listen, my goal, I made this decision 3 years ago, right? I didn't know that there was going to be a pandemic.
Right.
The way that my year was supposed to look, I was supposed to be in New York for my 30th
Oh,
birthday,
wow.
debt free. I was supposed to be like doing all this stuff. And so life will always present you with new things. And so, yeah, could I be bitter that I'm not like celebrating the way that I thought I was going to be celebrating? Yeah, I want it to be, but you know, it is what it is. And I know that I'm still going to be able to do whatever I want, you know, I'm going to have to just re-celebrate my 30th birthday next year. So, you know, it's okay. But that decision that I made 3 years ago prepared me and set me up to thrive in the pandemic. I'm busier than ever right now. The highest payment, like I paid my student loans off the most aggressively during the pandemic.
Wow.
And so
that's 0%.
Right, that I was making a decision that was really preparing me to be able to withstand something that's really taking people down. And that's nothing against them. It just is what it is. And so at this point, I went to like Target and I just spent money and I was like, wow, I wasn't thinking about how much I was spending. So weird, but I'm like, you know, to be able to go to a store and spend money and not think about, you know, the budget first because you got it. So little things like that, I think, are ways that I've been celebrating for myself a little bit. But my biggest purchase that I'm going to make, I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided. Maybe a laptop, but I don't know.
Okay. I definitely want you to get that. You should have that moment. I will tell you, once you start traveling and if you're addicted to it like that, birthdays and stuff, it don't matter as much because you're like, well, I traveled 4 or 5 times this year. If I didn't do anything for my birthday, okay. But I get you. You've been working up. New York is not the place to be. It's a lovely town, but you don't want to risk it all literally just to go there to see that Statue of Liberty. So no, you'll get there. It will get through this for it. So before I kind of transition and wrap up with my last question, how can people kind of support you? Do you have I know that's becoming popular, telecounseling services? Is that something you're doing? Like all the different ways someone can reach you and engage with you and the things that you're offering?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram, and that's Jacent Gems, JACENTSGEMS, Jacent Gems. That's also the name of the podcast that I host. And so 3 episodes a week are released. There's interviews on there. We're talking about relationships and how to have satisfying, fulfilling relationships on there. And we're also talking about money. On Fridays, we talk about mindset and taking yourself seriously and increasing your income and just living your best life. From a financial standpoint. And so that's all the free information that I love to share with everybody. I do telehealth. However, I'm only licensed in the state of Nevada right now. And I have been always working on expanding into coaching, but that's still a work in progress in which I will be able to take clients from different states and things like that. But yeah, finding me on Instagram, reaching out, letting me know, questions, say, that you are watching this live. So I know where you came from. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, phenomenal. So I actually had 2 questions. One, during the time, was there any type of resources, podcasts, things of that you were listening to help kind of keep your mind motivated and focused throughout that time of getting out of debt?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. If my morning routine used to be extensive, I don't know how I even used to do it. I forgot to mention that I would also listen to curated playlists.
Okay.
So I had a morning motivation playlist. It had like a lot of I think it had like Big Sean. It had Drake on there. It had, it had songs specific to being motivated, and they talked about debt in some of those songs and paying off debt, and so that helped me stay motivated. I also listened to videos, like 5 to 10 minute clips of videos where it was like Les Brown, Eric Thomas, Lisa Nichols, all the major motivational speakers and stuff like that to kind of get me going in the morning. So I would listen to those. I would also listen to the Dave Ramsey show because I was listening to people's debt-free screams.
Absolutely.
Answering different questions around, paying off debt and things that you can do and all of that. me focused because it wasn't that a lot of people in my personal life were doing what I was doing. So it was like
Absolutely.
an online community through listening to the podcast. So that's how I kind of stayed motivated as far as what I was listening to. Yeah, so that was also a part of it. I spent a lot of time throughout the day when I was at work and stuff. I stopped listening to music for the most part, other than my playlist, because I was listening to the Dave Ramsey show, or I was, depositing information into my brain that was going to help me stay focused.
Absolutely. So good. Because I do think that's important. Like you got to kind of drown out the noise and start putting new information to replace that. Last question. One thing I always ask people to do, whether the person's married, whether the person is single, whether single and have a child, or recently divorced, or whatever the case may be, what are things that you would encourage them to do if they really know they have that debt sitting there and they know they want to get out, but they're just kind of on edge and they just don't know and they want to take that first step? How would you encourage them, or could you leave some encouragement for them to kind of take that leap and steps to take?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I do have a couple of digital products on my website.
Okay.
Wellness, WAMALA wellness.com. And one of them is the money saving mindset hacks.
Okay.
Replay. So I did a live class where I was talking and sharing exactly how I paid off my $90,000 and some of the mindset shifts that have to occur in order to make that decision and take the leap. And so I bring that up because the question that you're asking is really helping. That class helps with that because it helps you to figure out, okay, what is the limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of me feeling like I can make this decision and be confident about it. But the thing is that confidence comes from action.
Right.
So we think that we have to feel like it or that we have to feel confident before we do the thing. But the trick is you have to do the thing before you get confident, because in working towards something, you see yourself making progress and you're like, wow, I'm doing it. And so that's one of the mindset hacks, is that you have to decide before you start seeing results. And as you decide, you begin to see the things that happen. You taking action is going to create that confidence. And so that class is great for that. I would say rip off the Band-Aid, because if there's this thing that's inside of you telling you, there's somewhere in your mind or your body that's like, I don't like my situation the way that it is right now.
Right.
I want more out of life. Like, I have a business idea, but man, there's no way that I'm going to be able to start that. It's too expensive. Or I want to be able to travel, or I want to be able to do this with my kids or my family, or, there's something in the mind or in the body that's just this little voice that's a desire that you have. And you have to listen to that voice.
Absolutely.
We all have to listen to that voice, because that is what's going to help us to start with ourselves, to have this full life transformation. And in doing so, that's how you then can impact your community and impact the world. We think that it starts without, but it all starts within. And so the world doesn't move forward unless we're all listening to that voice and creating action based on that. And so I always say I have ulterior motives. Like, I want everyone to follow that little voice, to find their joy in their life, because as many of us that we can do that, the better off the whole world would be.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about you. It's about you. Kids, it's about your family, it's about your friends, it's about me. We're all a collective consciousness. And so the world is waiting on you to shine and do whatever it is that you have inside of you. And there's support out for that, right? Like there's you're hosting your live classes, you're helping people with information and shifting their lives. I know I have, the Money Saving Mindset Hacks class. I have a Budget Like a Boss ebook on the site as well, which helps you to ask the right questions of yourself to create a budget that's going to work best for you. And so you don't have to do it by yourself.
Absolutely.
You just have to find the right people to support you and hit those goals. Yeah.
Oh, so good. I want to just go. I might go get some debt and just to do it. It's just to go through. No, but so good. So all the resources that Jacent had mentioned in the Money Talks group over the next couple of posts for the next couple of hours will be her resources, her website, her IG. I definitely encourage you to jump on her IG. I jump on it from time to time. I'm always trying to peek into those lives. Such good info. She is in Vegas, so the time difference is there sometimes. But, I mean, she's really packing out. The podcast is really good. It's definitely something I would binge in this time all the time. went back. I think I got maybe 2 more I got to catch up on, but I've listened to a lot of them. There's a lot of good info on there. And again, it's not just somebody who is kind of telling you from their experience. Like I can tell you from my experience how I got better from an emotional standpoint. Well, she's actually a therapist. She's a professional. So that piece really helps the information for you to be able to digest it really, really well. So those posts will be coming. You'll have that information. Or if you need to reach out to me directly, I can share that information with you as well. If you're on YouTube, all that information will be in the description box below. But so good. She has some products. If you're looking to budget, maybe that'll help you. The mindset hacks, it really is truly about your mind. And the fact is, we all have that small tone in our body that's telling us, yeah, I need to do this. And you've probably been suppressing it. So it might be time to take a look at that. But I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you guys joining in with us. Feel free. Remember, next week, have another story for you. So I'm trying to pack them in for you. But I can't wait to see you guys soon.